Starfish Savvy. I thought about uploading a video the last few days, but I haven't had a chance to. We went to go see the Perseid meteor showers down in Galveston Island, Texas, for the last weekend, which were amazing. I got to sleep on the beach till about 2 a.m. And the weather was like velvet. It's like 75 degrees, 74 degrees. It was wonderful. And so I thought I would go ahead and do so. I have found, sorry about the light in the background. I'm still learning about the lighting and the camera stuff. Also, as you can see, I just gave myself a fat lip by trying to adjust the trying to adjust the tripod, and I lifted it up and bleeding the whole day. Yeah, I'm a toughie, so it didn't bother me too bad, but it was embarrassing. And I figured, oh, maybe I'll make it up, and you guys don't care. So I have found actually 3 new channels that I really love. I think it's Angelica ASMR, and I've known hers before. She's wonderful. She does, like, she'll do a history, she'll do a character out of history, and she'll do makeovers for the sounds for makeovers, but she pairs it with her characters are straight out of history, and it's really awesome if you are a history buff. It's really neat. She'll pick like a famous female writer, or a woman out of Victorian times or something, and I just think she's brilliant. I also found, trying to block that light and light in the mirror, I also found 2 men that they both have very soothing voices. And one is Gaslamp ASMR, and he's very intellectual, and he tinkers with things while at the same time talking about very interesting subjects. And just his comments are fascinating, and he replies back, and it's really neat to see this dialogue between the ASMRtist and the people actually watching the videos, and just fascinating subjects. And then another one called Let's Find Out ASMR, and he's the same way. He will read a book or read something or explain something. It's almost like going to a college lecture, and for some people I'm sure it helps put them to sleep, but for some people it's really fascinating. ASMR for me is for sleep, but when I listen to both of theirs and even Angelina, it's really difficult for me to sleep because I like to learn more. So I found these videos, but they're more educational. So I guess if you don't like, if you're not that interested in things, but you want to hear like a voice just kind of droning, although their voices are very soothing, you could go to their channels. Gaslamp ASMR, Angelina ASMR, I believe, and Let's Find Out ASMR. And there's also there's another one I'll find out, and he does maps, and that one's fascinating too. But anyways, I decided, because I like listening to books and reading and finding out about books, I decided maybe I would do the same thing. History is my very favorite subject, and although I love everything, and I'm a very avid reader. Sorry if the light's so bright. I've got the lights a little dimmed, so if you are watching this, hopefully, maybe I should dim it a little bit more. If you're watching for sleep, next time I will, but this is my mantra. It's backwards. I don't know if you can see it. Go away, I'm reading. I was trying to figure out what books to read because I like all genres, except autobiography or technical writing. And I pulled out a few. This one has, let me put on my glasses, hang on. This one has the complete practical encyclopedia of archaeology. At some point I'm going to learn how to angle the camera onto the book so you can kind of read along. But this has amazing pictures with it. That's almost one of those books I thought that would be great, but it's one of those where you need to see the pictures along with them because it's fascinating. There is one of my favorites is, you see my dog in the back, Poshy. Posh. She's got allergies. Come here, Shorts. I've got another dog, Shorty, too, little Chihuahua. This one is The People's History of the World. It's really good. I mean, it's fascinating. I have A People's History of the U.S. too, which is also really fascinating. A lot of things that we don't learn in history class. And so this one would be a good one to read, to drone off, so that you can kind of fall asleep to. This is kind of neat, The History of the World in Bite-Sized Chunks. It's just fascinated me. It was in the bargain in Barnes & Noble. And that I might do that just because it goes quicker and you can learn something as far as you can learn and sleep. I'm going to do that one. And then another one I'm a fan of dark books. I'm a very boring person. My life is very boring. And so because of that, I kind of like dark books. Like, I love Kafka. I'm a fan of Kafka, Ray Bradbury. Who else? That's along the same. Maybe not dark, but just kind of. I really love Ray Bradbury, though. I do kind of like Poe. You know, I like books that make you think, or stories that make you think. I really like short stories. There's another book I just got. This boy got it a while ago. I've got about 10 books that I've not read yet that are on my list. Probably have more than that. Yeah, I always have several books that I buy because they look interesting and I just don't have time to read it. But The Vampires in the Lemon Grove. By Karen Russell, and she won, what was it? This is a New York Times bestseller, and it's a bunch of just really good short stories, but she was a Pulitzer Prize finalist, and she's young, but she just, her writing is just, it flows, and it's easy while still intelligent, if that makes sense. I might read hers. And one that I really, really want to read. I heard about it on NPR. In fact, most of the books that I buy, it's because I heard about it on NPR and listened to the authors being interviewed, and it just sounds incredible. It's about 17th century Amsterdam. And it's very, that's another thing, books that are really well researched. I love that. It's called The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. So I think right now I'll just read a short story. And although I will, when I start getting full-blown into making videos again, I'll do regular triggers. But for now, I think I will just go ahead and do maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'll do a reading bedtime story video. So let's see. It's between Vampires in the Lemon Grove and Kafka. How about we do Vampires in the Lemon Grove? they say they don't judge a book by its cover or a story by the contents page, but we're gonna pick a story by the contents page and by the title. There's vampires in the lemon grove, reeling for the empire. The seagull army descends on strong beach, proving up the barn at the end of our term. Dobert Shackleton's rules for Antarctic tailgating. That sounds kind of fun, actually. The new veterans. The graveless doll of Eric Mutis. Let's do Dogbert Shackleton's rules for Antarctic tailgating. That sounds kind of good. Let's get into that. Feel free to subscribe and like if you enjoy this video, and if you would enjoy hearing me do more video or more reading. At some point I'll have the camera not on me but on the book once I figure out how to angle it on my tripod that just beat me up. And I think I'll have, oh baby, you got the ears, your ears are itching. Baby's ears are itching. Poor sweet love. Come here, Pasha. Come with me. Come on over here, Pasha. Come on, baby dear. Come here, huh? No? Okay, sweet. How about you, shorts? We're going to take you to that and get your ears checked, sweet. I'm sorry. Okay. That's the background sound. Okay. Dogbert Shackleton's rules for Antarctic tailgating. Perhaps it is odd to have rules for tailgating when the food chain games themselves are a lawless bloodbath. And that is what a lot of fans love about the games. No rules, no refs, no box seats, and no hot pretzels. Not below the Ross ice shelf. So take these rules of mine with a grain of salt. That said, I've seen too many senseless deaths over the years. Some people think they can just hop down to the South Pole with a six-pack of natural ice and a sweater from the Gap, and that is just not the way we do it for the food chain games. The Team Krill versus Team Whale match takes place every summer in the most dangerous and remote tailgating site in the world. With the 89 degrees Fahrenheit below degrees Fahrenheit temperatures and the solar radiation, not to mention the strong katabatic winds off of the polar plateau, it can be easy to lose faith and fingers. Antarctic tailgaters know exactly how hard it is to party. So, how to get ready for the big game? Say farewell to your loved ones, notarize your will, transfer what money you've got into a trust for the kids. You'll probably want to put on some weight for the ride down to the ice caves. A beer gut has made the difference between life and death at the blue bottom of the world. Eat a lot at Shoney's and Big Boy and say your prayers. Take an 8-month leave of absence, minimum, from your office job. Kill your plants, release your cat, stop your mail. It's time to hit the high seas. Rule 1. Make friends with your death. Tailgating in the Antarctic is no joke. We are trying to do nothing less ambitious than reverse the course of history. We want Team Krill to defeat Team Whale. Look, if you want to tailgate in comfort, don't get on a boat. You can buy some quail eggs or snails or whatever you people eat, and you can watch the food chain games on your flat TV. Stay in Los Angeles. Hug your wife on your plush banquet. Cheer for the Antarctic mink whales like every other asshole. No, wait a second. Here comes the real rule 1. If you are a supporter of Team Whale, you can go fuck yourself, my fine sir. This list is for the fans of Team Krill. Excuse the language. Rule 2. Plan to arrive early. Honestly, for the March game, I like to get down to the Ross Ice Shelf by mid-January. The cousins will joke that I'm a little bit of a stickler for punctuality, but I don't see the harm in reaching ice caves early. I've seen too many Antarctic tailgaters killed in the Drake Passage over the years. Even I get choked up when I see a team whale vessel cracked to bits on a berg. Its flags faded so bad you can't read them. So plan for frostbite and Aeolian terror. Personally, I don't like to risk the easterlies in the Gerlache Strait any later than November. Side note, I'm going to have to read up on my vocabulary and my the word has escaped me. Pronunciation. There you go. November. The pack ice is on the move. A bad traffic. All the Gen 2 penguins looking at you, frizzy and ruby-eyed. It's uncanny. Team Gen 2 is a decent franchise, but I've never been a fan. They beat Team Squid again last season, but got smoked by Team Orca and Team Elephant Seal. Another reason to haul ass is that all the good spots in the harbor outside the ice caves go by Valentine's Day. You don't want to have to motor in 60 miles on your Zodiac boat come game day. A note on etiquette. People have to do terrible, terrible things to arrive there on time. When you make small talk, use your judgment. Keep it light. Nobody wants to kill the spirit in the ice caves with some downer questions about the recently deceased. Be prepared to see a black-nosed victim of frostbite, a boatload of probable cannibals, suspiciously fat and sheepish in their snug parkas, a curvy-riddled tailgater in a lifeboat. Best listen begging oranges. Don't ask questions. Maybe offer the guy a nectarine if he's wearing Team Krill gear. Hang on a second. It is, what time is it? Come on, watch. Do me good. My watch is dead. It's about 7:30 p.m. and yes, I'm drinking coffee. Let's add a little mint for your audio delight. Got a little scratchy there. Rule 3. Before you leave for the big... ADHD. Before you leave for the big game, make a tailgating checklist. At minimum, you will need to bring Zodiac boots and gaiters, first aid kits, survival bags, both VHF and HF solar-powered radios, a Sea Rover remotely operated vehicle with sonar imager, a fluorometer, a conductivity, temperature, and depth sensor, a bio-optical multi-frequency acoustical and physical environment recorder, an acoustic Doppler current profiler, and nachos. And of course, the tailgate is not just potentially fatal glacial navigation. There's also a fun component, inspired by our brethren in the football stadium parking lots of Florida and Alabama. Some Antarctic tailgaters have brought ale tankards in recent years, although this is not requisite. You might also choose to prioritize more of the room in your hold for auxiliary drinking supplies like seasickness bags and barrels of aspirin. If you're not a drinker, you'll still be in good company. For example, I was sober as a judge until recently when Maureen took off and I discovered that rye whiskey is a terrific complement to every meal at sea. Plenty of Team Krill tailgaters party dry during the voyage to avoid accidents. If you are abstaining, you could bring orange juice or seltzer or melt big breaks of ice for fishy tasting water. In fact, you'll almost definitely have to do this at one of the Army stations, unless you want to go to the pricey reverse osmosis desalinator route and get your water supply directly from the sea. Tip: this water will taste a little like movie popcorn unless you doctor it with Tang or Crystal Light lemonade. Here's a recipe we like for Team Krill Kool-Aid Punch. 1. Pina Pineapple Pink Swimingo or Double Cherry Kool-Aid brand flavored drink mix. Glacial Ice Blocks. Lake Frixel is a reliable source. Vodka. Russian crew members are an excellent source. 4. Plastic krill stirrers. You may have heard of pemmican, the spam of our Antarctica, a big favorite with early polar explorers. Pemmican consists of a repugnant arithmetic of dried beef plus beef fat. We don't eat that dog food on my ship. Dehydrated foods, non-perishables. These are the Antarctic tailgating staples. Apocalypse food is appropriate for the Antarctic tailgate, the sort of stuff you'd find in a Cold War bunker. Jerky, canned tuna, powdered milk, soups in envelopes. If you're a health nut, don't tailgate in the Antarctic. You can always put balsamic vinaigrette on a salted meat and sort of pretend it's salad. The tailgaters for Team Whale employ a wicked stratagem of culinary intimidation. They feast on krill cocktail, on krill risotto, on a humongous red velvet cake shaped to look like krill with chocolate ice tops. It's a macabre business. You are aware it's just icing, but still, the cake looks like a krill. Those Team Whale pricks have a 5-star French Guyanese chef on board. Of course, those bastards are probably also pouring liquid gold onto their organic arugula leaves or something. Well, fuck them. Potato flakes and ham in the can and Army MREs from mid-century wars are plenty fine for Team Krill. Rule 4. Pack a victory cooler. When Team Krill defeats Team Whale, you'll want to have provisions for a true Antarctic feast. I've been tailgating around the frozen continent with these items in my victory cooler since Ronald Reagan was in office. Arm & Hammer baking soda, Crisco, Nestle Quick powder, a sack of sugar, dried corn, dried prunes, Hormel corned beef, astronaut candy, air horn. On the day that our team finally wins, it will be a bacchanalia. I'm going to have to Google that. Okay, Google, what does BACCHANALIA mean?
Here's the definition of Bacchanalia, the Roman festival of Bacchus.
There you go. I love Google. That said, rookie tailgaters, take note. You can get caught up in the moment in those ice caves and then, boom, botulism. Rule 5. Wear Team Krill colors, but insulate. In the catabolic winds, a balmy game day is 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to want to cover your extremities. Put your Team Krill outer shell over your Team Krill neck gaiter. Buy a pair of badass goggles. Science hasn't proven the efficacy of tailgating in costume yet, but we believe that visible support we provide to Team Krill by dressing up and moving our antenna and plastic krill thoraxes in the characteristic undulant motion of School of Krill is vital to their eventual victory against Team Whale. I'm liking this story. Through mists of ice, we tailgaters lean over the gunwales of our boats and shake our pinky beige swimmerettes, tracing moody shapes into the dark surface. What does this do for Team Krill? Skeptics, marine biologists, and my ex-wife Marine will tell you nothing. Can the krill hear us cheering for them? Probably not. Do they understand what they are seeing with their shrimpy compound eyes? Yes, definitely. After 17 seasons, I am sure of this. I've seen the magic of cheering in costume for the almost invisible, indefatigable krill. I'm not going to Google that, but I'm assuming that means not easily fatigued. Maybe. I'll Google that when I'm done. I've seen krill accelerate toward the maw of team whale. Streaming bubbles, a mute shrimp battle cry. It's a beautiful sight, and beautiful to feel you were a part of it. That our screaming and our gyrations on the surface reach down to them, to the tiny, tumbling bodies deep below the ice. Our team. In fact, sometimes the little guys wave their plentiful legs back at us as if they're cheering on our cheering. If you're really serious about tailgating, like my cousins and me, you'll want to sequester yourself in your bedroom for 2 or 3 months, pre-voyage with old National Geographic footage, and practice swishing. Most people lead with their hips, but for me, it's all in the ribs. Danny Fitzpatrick, who is like the commissioner of our tailgates down there, this red-nosed Irishman who looks a little like a krill himself, whiskery and furious, and who started tailgating around the South Pole when I was still in diapers. Denny can do this one waggly thing with his elbow. It really seems to get them going. I mean, you really should try to look as much like a krill as you can. Rule 5A. If your wife leaves you for a millionaire motel chain owning douchebag fan of Team Whale, make sure you get your beloved mock bioluminescent Team Krill eye stalks out of the trunk of her Pacific before she takes off. Rule 6. Tip the Russians well. I'm assuming that you rented a boat crewed by Russians. They control a lot of the Antarctic tailgating industry, so treat them well. We usually tip 5% of the charter cost of the ex-polar navigator. If and when you make it to the ice caves, you'll be family. Team Whale tailgaters fly into Ushuaia, Argentina. Typically, they roll into the harbor of the ice caves on the day of the game, their fleet puttering through the blue archways as lazily as a series of yawns. All those hundreds of Team Whale fans looking so smugly upholstered in their Disney-manufactured whale suits. I hear those cushioned bellines are as comfortable as pajamas. Just the thin portion costs $3,000. Good for you, Team Whale tailgaters. Must be nice for you to have that kind of money. It must be real tough, you cetaceous bucks, to support the best team in the league. Excuse me. Your average Team Krill tailgater can't afford that kind of luxury. He wouldn't want to. We like to travel in our own style. For example, my cousins and I have converted a Russian schooner into the Krill Cruiser, whose only purpose is to visually and audibly support Team Krill. Cousin Larry's an electrician, and he did just an incredible job on the cabin. Strobe lights, a birch bar for beers, and hot peanuts. The Russians love that little flourish, though theirs is not a culture of tailgaters. I sometimes get the sense that Russians think us a little silly. You might also want to bring a little gift for the mailman at Port Lockroy. They had some British guy installed there last time we sailed through. Young guy. He gets so lonely. Some magazines, some chocolate mints. It's really just a thought. Rule 7. Tailgating is all about sharing. Quick and easy cooking is a must for the Antarctic tailgater. Here's a family recipe that will give your Antarctic tailgate some regional flavor. 1. Whale meat. 2. Fire. salt to taste and all that. Although typically, I don't bother with salt. I don't really bother with forks and such either. I like to pluck the meat from the burning coals and bare my teeth and let out a piercing, unearthly howl at the team whale tailgaters moored across the ice floes, personally, just to razz them a little. Rule 8. Be a good sport, but watch your back. You want to have a sportsmanlike attitude while tailgating in the Antarctic, even when it is difficult, e.g., snowblind, mourning a loss, drunk on a Crown Royal. Show those team whale fans that even though their players weigh 10 tons to our players' 0.038 grams, we krill supporters are the bigger people. Some of the tailgaters for the minke whales are homicidally devoted to the team, rich psychopaths. You're likely to find the rowdiest bands of them near the Greitviken whaling station, drinking Cabernet and hissing across the calved icebergs at us. Pull your rubberized krill ear flaps down. That's what I do. Be civil. Tragedies happen in lower latitudes, particularly when some of the younger guys get their blood up. Fights seem to spike about a month or two before the big game when you hit that traffic in the Bismarck Strait. One sad example from a couple of seasons ago. This teenager called the minke whale fans dick riders. A poor freckled kid from Decatur City, Iowa. God, we all liked him. He wasn't the brightest bulb, but somehow he memorized every krill statistic going back to the Cretaceous food chain games. He just loved the franchise. It was his first tailgate, he told us. His first time below the equator. Sweet kid. We all liked him, but we kept forgetting his name. Anyway, the dawn after the whale Dick Riders altercation, the whole Dick Riders altercation, our krill boats were all still at anchor, but the team whale tailgaters were long gone. We found the kid's body floating amid blocks of ice, already meat, 3 blue skua jawing on it. An orca sailed by him like a sunken moon, its wake engulfing the kid in black ripples. His feet were bare, I remember that. Those monsters took his krill feet and his shrill scamper socks. Can you imagine that level of evil, sock robbers? We could see the boats of his murderers like a line of ants in the distance, entering the hole of the midnight sun. You can lose at tailgating too, just as devastatingly as Team Krill keeps losing to Team Whale. Rule 9. Should you have to bury your dead, do so in the proper receptacles. Nobody likes a litter bug. You can't get much lower class than a boat of tailgaters who just leave their dead around. There we go. Rule 10. Don't fall overboard. The game lasts 20 seconds tops. You don't want to come all that way and miss the game. Rule 11. Don't stop believing. Some, like my ex, will tell you that it's a special sort of masochist who supports Team Krill, since all evidence suggests that they have been consistently losing food chain games for eons. Paleobiologists' molecular dating methods reveal that the krill have never won a game. Team Krill loses to Team Blue Whale, Team Humpback Whale, Team Fin Whale, Team Sei Whale, Team Skua, and Team Albatross. To this I say, sure, it takes a special kind of fan to love the league underdog, something Maureen would know very little about. Listen, the krill are in a rebuilding year. The krill are always in a rebuilding year. Every year, the whole franchise of 60 billion krill gets eaten. Team Whale sucks Team Krill into the primordial combs of its baleen plates at 28 knots. We've got a decent offense, but we've got a pretty dismal record on defense. But this is going to be our season. With all your might, try to believe that. The greatest feeling in the world is getting there. Rowing over to the ice caves on game night After all that travel, krill will surge along either side of your boat in a rosy pre-game warm-up. Lots of excitement in the frozen air. Inside the ice caves, you can glimpse at the mink whales grouping into pods. Surge, krill! Denny Fitzpatrick always screams at this juncture. You can bet that he's been drunk since April. Surge, you codless bastards! Antarctic tailgating is such a nice way of socializing on a balmy evening. When the sun goes down in flames behind the caves, while you share the end of your 2-year supply of liquor and chips. How did it only last 8 months? With the Russians. We wear our costumes on the stern of the boat, our krill eye stalks, ogling the polar stars, huddled, shivering, convulsing with victory dreams. We munch and munch in the most extraordinary silence. That would be it. Again, if you want to check out the book, I don't know, this will probably come across backwards, but Vampires in the Lemon Grove by Karen Russell. Young girl, too. Oh, from the author of the novel Swamplandia. She wrote Swamplandia. I had no idea. Anyway, so that was that. If you all enjoyed getting your bedtime story read to you, let me know. I'll do it again. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the story itself. Kind of reminds me of the Cubs. I'm a huge Cubs baseball fan. And the reason I'm from Iowa. I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, and we had the AAA Iowa Cubs. And as a teenager, I worked there in the summers at the with my friends at the stadium. It used to be called Sec Taylor Stadium. And so whenever the Chicago Cubs would go on the DL, they'd come down to our stadium to recover and rehabilitate. So we got to meet some really amazing people. Derek May, Eric Pappas, some really great players. Eric Pappas wasn't that great, but Derek May was amazing, number 11. This was many years ago. Anyway, I'd become a Cardinals fan, and now I'm a Texan, and love Texas, and I love the Astros and the Rangers, and shoot, the Corpus Christi Hooks, and the Skeeters, Sugarland Skeeters. I love AAA and Major League. But keeping that in mind, I will always love my Cubs, the lovable losers, as they have always been known. And last year and the year before, last year, they finally broke the curse of the Billy Goat. If you want me to do a video on the curse of the Billy Goat, I'm happy to. We grew up trying to break, all of us, we would have a group prayer, the whole state of Iowa, the whole state of Illinois, to break the curse of the Billy Goat. Anyway, remember to like, subscribe down below, hit the notifications button if you like my videos and like my ASMR and would like to hear more. The more likes and subscribes I get, the more videos I'll do. Although I do kind of just enjoy doing the videos, it's a matter of time though. Alright guys, thanks so much, and I will see you next time. Take care.